of all of these things to go around. If you want additional copies afterwards, we can provide them. So some of you are getting a history one, some of you are getting history and biology.
And you all should have an engineer or a biology one, a STEM one. If you walked in early, that was passed out to you. And I don't have that one with me. I'll just put it on my laptop.
And these are just examples that we've pulled from colleagues or from the web. Again, on those faculty pages within department websites, you will often find a link to a PDF where faculty have put up this CV. CV stands for Curriculum Vitae, by the way, which is basically an academic's version of a resume. But as you'll see, they can be exceptionally long because you just keep adding to them. It's not like a resume that needs to be one page. It's a document which keeps track of everything professionally that professor has done throughout their career, from graduate school on, every publication that they've had, every grant that they've been awarded, everything.
Yeah, a CV could be up to 50 pages once a faculty reaches like the peak of their career. I mean, literally every single thing that they've done, every presentation, every conference, every book chapter, you add it to the CV. That's why they're very lengthy, as you can see in some of the examples.
That's going around, Monica Smith, that's my chair from UCLA. She's a very seasoned professor, right, at the height of kind of the top of the food chain career. And you can see her CV there, for those of you who have it, is many, many pages long. One of the other ones is a more junior person, and so it's still building.
Okay, so there are, most CVs are you'll find that they all start out with, they'll have their name at the top, as you can see in the examples. There are different ways that you can format it. You just want to make sure that it's easy to read, okay? So you'll see each of those CVs were formatted with slightly differently. Some have, different font. I mean, some of them I think they're Times New Roman or Arial. But anyways, you can use different fonts. The goal of your CV is that it makes sure it's clear to read. It's easy to read, it's clean, and there are no typos, okay? Because the first thing they're going to see is your CV, okay? You want to make sure it's perfect. There are no errors. So you'll want to have your name, your email address, your address on campus. Everyone should start out with a section detailing their education. So for you guys, it will be your major, your GPA from this semester, and then your expected graduation date. Okay, so everyone should have that. If you have a minor, you'll want to list your minor as well under your major. And then you'll want a section that lists your relevant coursework. So coursework that you've taken this semester that's relevant to the research area that you're interested in. You'll want to list those courses. Typically, your CV should not have anything from high school, okay? It starts freshman year of college and beyond. But since you're freshmen, if there are specific distinctions that you want the faculty to be aware of, you were valedictorian, your SAT, or a specific AP course that you think is relevant to the research position, you can add that to your CV. But once you become a junior, I recommend that you take anything from high school and start fresh from college, okay? So I would say the exception is for freshmen, okay? You can probably, since you don't have that much to put on there, you can put high school achievements as well, yeah.
Did you say the GPA was just for this semester, or GPA up to this semester?
So let's say, so if you're applying right now for next semester, then you would want to put just this semester, right? But if you're applying, let's say next year, your entire GPA, your cumulative GPA.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about freshmen. Okay.
Yeah, for freshmen. I'm sorry, I should have clarified that. Yes. So for freshmen, you only have this semester as your GPA, right? So you'll put the GPA for this semester. But if you're a sophomore or junior, your cumulative GPA. Okay. Any other questions? Does that make sense? Okay, yeah, that was a little confusing. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just to clarify and showing you guys these documents, there's two purposes here, right? One is for you to see faculty CVs, right, which are a resource online for you to look up to learn about faculty. The other is, Dr. Tirani was talking about, you should be building these, right? And you need to be building these separate from your resume. So each of you should have in your kind of documents, your bio documents, right? A resume, which I imagine everybody's familiar with what a resume is, right? So kind of one page. That is for industry and employment and outside of academia. Within academia, your calling card is really this CV document. And even though you don't have a lot to put on it right now, you should still build it, right? Get the foundations there. One of the reasons for that is to be able to kind of introduce yourself, right, to faculty and research projects. The other reason is you're going to start doing things. You're going to be presenting in various guises, doing kinds of things that are not classroom-based but are research-based in some way or another. And you need to keep track of those because it's very quickly, very easy to start losing track if you don't keep this running record. So make the document now, right? And then every time you present at a conference or you are working in a research lab or whatever it is you're doing, make sure be really attentive to getting it on that list. Because in a few years, it's very easy to start forgetting those things. And once they're out of your memory, they're not on your sheet, and then the credit for that is kind of gone. So, so make that part of your kind of packet of things about yourself now.
Yeah, very good point. Just as you're going along, any activities, any leadership activities, any jobs, put it in your CV as immediately. Okay, anything else that I want to? Okay, so the next section you'll see typically after education is either work experience, research experience, or in the case of the STEM example, they just put experience there. I'm not sure what the other one, what goes. Education, okay, previous positions, publications. Typically publications usually are the last, right? Or is it different for non-STEM?
Yeah, in my field it's either grants or publications that are put right up after education and position. So
if you're a freshman with 0 research experience, that's fine. What you'll want to do is list your work experience, any volunteer experience, to show them that you have team skills, leadership skills. You can go ahead and put those down there. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out are, in order to make it easy to read, don't use months. Typically you want to use just the year or like the season when you're putting the year, when you're putting dates. Don't put like May 27th, 2015 to June 2nd, 2017. You know what I mean? So you want to make it very crisp and clear and easy to read. So just use the year, or at most like the season, the semester, spring 2015. Okay, you don't need to put the exact date for your the positions that your work positions. What else did I wanted to go over here? So then you'll see there's a section on leadership, and then it ends with like awards or presentations, etc. So the one that I Xeroxed, the STEM one, that's an example of an undergraduate. That's I just got that online. That's an undergraduate resume sample. And then the non-STEM one is an example of a faculty, right?
Yeah, those are more advanced faculties, but you can see the various categories that are possible for you to put on there, and also what you'll find on a more advanced one.
Any questions on the CV? So you'll want to make one and attach it to your first email to the faculty, okay? Let's see what else.
And the nice thing about doing that is, besides introducing your background, it shows that you know what a CV is, right?
Yeah.
You're a little bit versed in the world of academia, right?
Yeah. I hope you all know by now how to write an email to a professor. Do not start with hey or Ms. or Mr. or yo. It's not a text, okay? You don't want to write the email like a text. You should greet them, Dr. So-and-so, or dear Dr. So-and-so. Make sure it's professional, okay?
And if you don't know, default to doctor, not Mr. or Mrs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So generally they'll have a PhD. Do you use prof versus doctor ever, or do you make that distinction?
I don't. I just use doctor usually. Yeah. And then sometimes I'll get emails where they'll email me, like instead of Dr. Tirani, they'll say Dr. Zara. And so you want to make sure it's doctor and then the last name, not the first name. So, and make sure you spell it correctly too. Just be careful. That's the take-home message here. Any questions? Did you have a question? Yeah.
So do we upload our resume or our CV? Because those are two different documents.
Your CV. You'll want to send your CV. Yeah.
Everything research should be CV. Anything industrial round, is called industrial roundtable, IR, with
Yeah.
those kinds of contexts, resume,
Yeah.
right? But within academia, always CV.
But they have quite a bit in common, right?
Oh yeah, but they will initially, right?
Yeah.
But as Dr. Tehrani's saying, some of those categories that you might put on your CV in the beginning as your first year, you'll want to eventually take off,
Yeah.
right? So ultimately, you want to call that list to really be your research experiences and grants, conference time, that kind of stuff. And you want to take off some of the more, I don't know, like what kinds of things did you say you put on there initially?
Like volunteering, maybe work like high school, like work jobs that they had during high school.
Yeah, if you worked in a cafe,
Yeah.
this kind of thing. I don't even know if you want to put that on there initially.
I think for freshmen it shows that they have work experience, they can get along with people, they can handle responsibilities. But eventually I would say take it off.
Right. Whereas on a resume, it might stay
Yeah.
until you get into your professional career.
What about jobs that you've had in college? Like I've worked at the same place, like at the current freshman and sophomore year, and like I've moved up in position. Is that something you want to keep on your CV, like throughout?
Oh, throughout? I don't.
Initially, but you want to eventually get that off there.
Yeah, I would say initially, if you need to have something under work experience, and this is your first research experience, your first research position, I would keep it on there.
Is it
But-
a research-based job? Are you working in a lab, or is it like a
No,
restaurant?
it's like, but it's like relevant to like what I want to do when I'm older. It's like training, like personal training and stuff like that.
But then in that case, you might.
I think so, if
you
it's
might.
relevant.
This is an excellent question. Once you get into that research position in your field and have a relationship with a mentor, they might give you some indication, or a grad student in
Yeah.
your field. Because that may be kind of field specific, right? If
Okay.
you're in kinesiology or something,
Right, yeah,
right,
that's-
and you've got personal training experience, you may want that to stay there. But that's something that you can then ask as you get into your field.
Okay.
What's typical?
Good question. Yeah, Wyatt.
So relating to that, so if I'm working at Crime Lab, would I want to keep that on my resume since it's a lab, even if I am like not really doing like research there?
Are you doing secretarial work? What do you?
Control operator, so monitoring and recording data.
So I think, again, because you're a freshman and this is your first time applying for a research position, I would keep that on there under work experience, but at some point I would say like by sophomore year that should be gone, unless it's relevant to the research that you're doing. These are great questions, yeah.
Other than your CV, what would you recommend including in your first email to the professor whose research you're interested in?
Oh, so do you have this sample, this template?
No.
Okay, so this template will answer that question. It has all of the major information that you would want to include in the first email. So, you know, your name, your major, the college, or you might want to, I would include honors college as well. It shows that you're an honors student. The topic that you're interested in, what your career goal is perhaps, and then talk about your CV and asking them for a time to meet with them.
And again, we can make more of these available.
Yeah.
We're a little low on copies, so maybe I'll run a bunch of these off and put them out for you guys where you can grab them, or after the session. We'll
Yeah,
figure it out.
we can Xerox more
We can always
copies.
make more copies.
Any other questions? Okay, let's see. All right, so let's say you emailed the faculty, they responded back to you, and they tell you to come to their office and meet with them, okay? So you don't want to just show up there unprepared, okay? So you want to, again, do your homework. Make sure you are that you have gone through their website, that you are aware of the different projects going on in their lab, that you're familiar with the research that they're doing, that you've read at least one of their papers. You know, you can go to Google Scholar, download a couple of their papers, and take a look at their papers. And then once you're at the meeting, once they talk about their research projects with you and the potential one that you would want to work on, I recommend asking them if you could attend one of their group meetings. So a lot of research groups, and I don't know, Liz can cover the non-STEM, but STEM and STEM research groups have weekly meetings. So they'll meet once a week with their graduate students. The faculty will meet with their graduate students or in postdocs in a conference room, and they will present their research, their research results to the faculty mentor, and they will provide feedback to that graduate student or postdoc who's presenting. Or they'll present a paper relevant to the research going on in that lab. And it's a great opportunity for you to see sort of the dynamics in that research group, as well as to see, the types of the different research going on in that laboratory, as well as get a feel for the type of faculty mentor they would be to you. So I suggest doing that if you can, or ask them if you could tour the lab. So let me cover this now. Usually for the STEM majors, if this is going to be your first research position, they'll assign you to a graduate student or a postdoc to help on their project. So you won't get your own project right off the bat. You will usually start by assisting a graduate student or a postdoc. It's their job to mentor you and train you. So if you're a freshman, don't worry that you don't have any experience. Don't worry that you don't know how to do a PCR or make a gel or extract DNA. That's the point of doing undergraduate research, is so that you learn these techniques, so that someone trains you in these techniques. It's a learning curve. At the beginning, they're going to have to invest some time in training you. But the understanding is that when that graduate student puts in those hours, those first couple of weeks in training you, they're going to reap the benefits later on. Once they train you on how to make a gel, how to run a gel, how to extract DNA, then later on, they can get more experiments done. So rather than getting like 5 experiments done per week, they're going to be able to get 10 experiments done, at the end of the week. So you're increasing their productivity. They get their research done faster. They publish faster. So it's a win-win situation. They need to understand that they have to invest the time at the beginning to train you. You need to be committed. Show up when you're supposed to show up. Don't bail out and flake on them. Every other day and say, I can't come in. I can't come in. And then show them that you're serious, and then it will pay off at the end, okay? So that's why I suggest going to take a look at the lab, meeting people in the lab, attending their lab meetings or their group meetings, okay? So that raises another point that a lot of students think that once they join a research group, they're going to get direct mentorship from the faculty. Usually for the STEM, that's not the case. They're in their office writing grants, attending meetings. They'll come to, you'll have some interaction with them, hopefully, but the direct mentorship will come from usually the postdoc or the graduate student that you've been paired up with.
Yeah, and I should say there that is a very different scenario, right, that is specific to STEM than what you will find in humanities and social sciences, again, kind of across the board. So it's much more varied in humanities, social sciences. Much less often will you find that formalized lab meeting and hierarchy kind of structure. I mean, certainly they'll have postdocs or grad students that they're working with, but you may not interact with those people. You may be working directly with the faculty member. It may be, for example, that they have an active ongoing project and they need you to do survey data collection with them and get you trained to do those methods. It may be that they really need your help kind of going through an archive, right? Going through those materials. It's a bit more individualized. It may be that they have less capacity to bring you into their own research, but they're interested in mentoring you to do your own kind of historical research, right? Something like that. Whereas other faculty in the social sciences, to a less degree in the humanities, but I don't want to say it's not true, there are some that do run large labs with big structures that they're used to bringing undergraduates into, where you may come in and be working with materials. My own discipline of archaeology in particular is one where you see more of that, right? It's a social science, but there are very often laboratory spaces where you're coming in and working with materials, washing ceramic sherds and these kinds of things, and then working up to kind of more analysis level sorts of things. So again, this is why I say you have to kind of feel that relationship out a little bit. You need to kind of do homework on those folks and then have a sense of what are their capacities, which don't be afraid of those meetings, right? They will help carry the conversation. Faculty love to talk, and they'll give you an idea of what they think the realm of possibilities are. But you should come in prepared, knowing what it is, as best you can, knowing what they do, having a sense of what you could or would like to do in relation to that, or what interests you about that, and it'll grow from there.
Yeah, and also make sure that you are not given secretarial work or washing test tubes. That is not research, okay? That happened to me when I was an undergrad. So I was like, for 6 weeks, I was separating male and female flies. That is not research. So just make sure that they are aware of what an undergraduate researcher is and what their responsibilities are. If you see that they're wasting your time, get out of there. Don't think like, oh, but I've already been here for 4 weeks. It's a huge waste of time if I leave and try to find another research position. Like the luxury of getting involved early as a freshman or a sophomore is that you can, if a project is not clicking for you, if you're just not happy with the environment, you have that luxury of time of, you're volunteering. It's not, if you haven't done a contract, you can leave and go to another research group. Obviously, you shouldn't just not show up. You should contact the faculty and set up a meeting with them and let them know that you plan to go to another research group. But don't waste your time there. Don't worry if something's not working. Leave. Go to another lab.
And maximize that experience too, right? Because maybe this doesn't apply to STEM, or it does, I don't know. But my own personal story, I ended up, my first lab experience, similarly, I was logging things in a database, but it was in the tablet room at the Penn Museum, which has 3,000, 4,000-year-old cuneiform tablets. It was super cool, right? Because I got to be in the space with that, but it wasn't real research. So after, a few months of it, I pulled out. But when I went to the next professor who was doing more engaging research that I wanted to work with, I said, look, I've done this, right? I'm interested, and I'm still looking for the right thing. I have this background now. I'm clearly committed to this. And that professor was willing to take me on because he already knew from that experience I wanted to do research. I was showing up. I had a good reputation. And again, it's more specific to the humanities, social sciences, smaller world. People know each other, talk, right? You could ask colleagues, prove that I wasn't a flake. So there's still advantage, but don't, as Dr. Ronnie is saying, don't linger there without ever learning anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
As an undergraduate, if you're going to be working with postdoc and graduate students, are they the ones you're going to ask recommendation from?
So usually what will happen is, so you want the letter of recommendation from the faculty mentor. And so usually based on my experience, so I worked with undergrads all 6 years of my graduate school studies. And usually what happened was the postdoc or the graduate student would draft the letter for the faculty mentor, and then the faculty mentor was the one who polished it, finalized it, and sent it off to the medical school or the dental school. Because you want the person who really knows you and had one-on-one contact with you daily to write the letter. So in the non-STEM case, well, you're going to have direct mentorship from the faculty. In the STEM case, most STEM faculty are not in the web lab doing research. They're writing their grants. The graduate students and postdocs are doing most of the research in the lab. So that's who you want drafting the letter. But no, sometimes the faculty will draft it themselves and they'll say, give me your CV, and they'll write it themselves. But in my experience, it was the other way, where I had to write the letter, but then the professor sent it off. He signed it. Yeah. It's a good question. Any other question?
Can I just show of hands how many are thinking are STEM tracked?
Oh. Any non-STEM? No?
Wow, okay.
Oh, maybe I should have asked that at the beginning. Oh, okay. Let's see what else. Oh, okay, another thing. So in your first meeting with the faculty, in addition to asking them to see the lab and sit in their group meeting, ask them for relevant literature to read over winter break or summer break. So let's say you want a position next semester in spring semester. So you should probably start emailing them around, like around late October. Meet with them because they have a busy schedule. So you want to meet with them sometime in November, and then because you don't want to, if you want to start in January, you shouldn't be emailing them in January. You should start emailing them now, so that the first day of spring semester, when you walk in, you know where to go and what to do. Okay, so. At that meeting, ask them for relevant literature that you could read over winter break or summer break. That shows that, one, you're serious, that you're taking the initiative, and then when you walk in the first day, you have an idea, you have a background of what you'll be working on. Okay? Yeah, Wyatt.
So is that sort of unspoken when you email them around late October that you would like to start in January?
No, you should specifically say you're looking for a research position for next semester, starting January. I would say spring semester, which indicates that it starts in January. And then, I mean, in your meeting, then you can say I'm ready to work in January. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Any other questions about? Yeah.
What if you because like you mentioned, because next semester I'm thinking about doing an honors contract, and I didn't know that you could do like a research experience to fulfill like an honors contract. So should you still ask them this earlier, or because I know a lot of people the first 2 weeks of the semester, that's when they decide what they're going to do with the teacher for an honors contract.
I would, yeah. I would meet with the faculty and then have the paperwork done at the beginning of the spring semester.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you recommend?
You can let them know if that's your plan, but be aware when you say honors contract to many faculty across campus, they'll go, oh, I don't know what that is, right? Or they may think it's paperwork or something they have to do. So just be prepared to know yourself what the process is, to be the one kind of instructing them on how to go forward with that, or letting them know that you will make that happen if they agree to do that. Okay. Yeah. Because we work very hard to kind of get that messaging out across campus, but the vast majority of faculty are not in the honors college, right? And so they're not always up on what those terms mean or what the processes are. So you may be the one explaining to them what an honors contract is and how you set it up. So just be prepared to walk them through that part of the conversation. Right? And you may not, I don't know in the initial email if you want to mention the honors contract or get into that in the conversation. If you put it in the email, they may be a little bit like, I don't know what this is. Do you have an opinion on that?
I wouldn't put it in the initial email.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Focus on getting in the research position and then talk about that later.
Yeah, that's what I recommend too. Okay, why don't we talk about money now? Grants. So you have another handout there, and I'll put this back up for Dr. Bright to show you. So you can get paid for your research or research funding to help your research. Let me put it that way. Let's see.
Yeah, we should make a distinction there, right, between getting paid for your time, grant money, which would fund supplies that you may need, or things that you need to get the work done, or if you want to travel to a conference and present your research.
So do you want to sort of walk them through this website, the applying and all that?
I'll talk a little bit about the grant aspect. And in this case, we're not talking about paid time for your work in the lab, and Dr. Tehrani might be better versed in talking about those kinds of opportunities. What I'm talking about is grant money, which is money that you apply for, which again supports the work that you're doing. If you need supplies, for example, you're doing a digital media project and you need electronic equipment, you're working in a lab and you need some petri dishes, some test tubes to do the work you're doing. Keep in mind that there are different scenarios there. You may need it for, say, your scholarly project or an independent thing that you're working, but it also can be a really good kind of chit in coming into a lab or getting on board with a lab to let your faculty know, hey, I can apply for this money and contribute to, right, the lab supplies or the things here. Or if you're already working in a lab and you want to do a spin-off project with that faculty member, say, hey, I can get some money to do this extra thing if you will give me guidance, right, in it. So having a grant or having access to grant money is another kind of feather in your cap, so to speak. The first thing to know about these is you don't want to apply for them retroactively, but you usually have to present some kind of plan of what you're going to use the money for. You're asking for it in advance of doing that work, going to that conference. So the main one to be aware of is our Honors College Undergraduate Research Grant. This is available to all students in the Honors College. That doesn't mean everyone gets one, but there is a grant that you can apply for that will be reviewed and then accepted or denied. The purpose of that primarily is to provide you funding to support your scholarly project. However, that is not do or don't on that grant. We are hoping to foster your scholarly project work. However, we also use that grant for students freshman year, just getting started, want to get a little bit something done, want to go to a conference with a professor, and you're kind of feeling out of field, even if it's ultimately not what you end up doing, that long-term commitment doesn't have to be there. We want you kind of to have access to opportunities to get engaged, get started, get a feeling for things as well. So we offer a grant. The max limit on it is $1,000. You can go to the scholarly project page and find the information there to apply. So something to be aware of, right? This propose and verify, that's for the scholarly project specifically when you're ready to lay out your plan and get it approved. That's separate from the grant. If you're looking for the grant money, click here. Sorry, do you mind clicking on that?
Oh.
Okay, and you can go and apply for grant funding through this link. Okay, so these you can apply at any time during the academic year from beginning of September 1 through April. I think the cutoff is like the 20th or the 21st. I think we do it as the last week of classes. Okay, so this is a little distracting. What then happens, right? And it's a short 250-word abstract. General budget, you don't have to go into like real specific detail about how each dollar is spent, but just an idea of what you need. I need $250 for my Petri dishes. I need $500 for the airline ticket, right? You apply, that comes to me, it gets rolled into, I review those, discuss them with our research group once a month. So it takes about a month to get a response on those, and I'll send you an email letting you know what's happening with those. The only requirement on that grant funding, besides using it towards some kind of research endeavor, is, and this is new this year, you will have to, within 12 months of what that money is used for, if you're getting that acceptance, do a quick reporting to us on how you used it. Again, we don't want a line-by-line accounting because this comes to you as a scholarship, but just a general idea of this is what I did for my research and how the money supported us. And that's just so we can have a sense of what our students are doing, how they're doing it. The typical things that students apply for, travel to conferences. If you're going to learn about a field, good. If you're going to actually present a paper or poster, much better, right? Higher likelihood of success. Research supplies, as I mentioned, and what's the other big category? Research supplies, research travel. Is the other one if you need to travel to an archive, you need to travel to a lab to do some work outside of here, right? Those are the kinds of things that qualify. The other thing to bear in mind with our scholarly grants, and this is probably true with a lot of grants that are offered on an annual basis or a rolling basis, we've got a pot of money of this size, right? And once it's gone for the year, it's gone. So you are always at a greater advantage to apply early. Okay, so as soon as you know that you have a project down the line, you're going to have some research expenses, go ahead and ask for the money. If you do get it, again, it's awarded typically as a scholarship, which means that we do have to route it through the Division of Financial Aid, and so it can ding your financial aid status. That is, I think, I get few responses on it, so I don't really know exactly how that's affecting students. But if you have a particular case or issue with that, or you have, you need $1,100 and you absolutely can't go without $1,100 even though our max is $1,000, email me, email Dr. Bross, Christina Bross, who's our Associate Dean for Research Endeavors. Let us know what's up. Don't be afraid to reach out to us with questions about these. Okay, this is our in-house grant, so we're more than happy to talk to you to see what we can do to point you to other resources on campus whatever we can do. We are the folks who are here to do everything we can to ensure that you can get your research up and running and do what it is you want to do. We are committed to seeing you guys through on these scholarly projects and other research because we know how incredibly beneficial it is to your academic careers. So don't be strangers, right? We're all here. Let us know what we can do. Give us a heads up. Also, if you need it expedited, right? You're applying October 1st, and you're not going to hear a decision from me until say November 1st. But you really need to know in a week or two. Let me know. I can push you through. Question.
So this, if I'm reading it right, it says like you can't receive course credit for it. So this is like not for like your research project for the honors college that gets you credit. This is just for like if you want to do something independent.
So on the handout, I think it says that you can't, if you're getting the grant, then you can't be getting credit for the research. That's what it says.
You can't double dip is our basic rule. So you can't get credit and get funded to do it. But if it's research supplies or something like that, let us know. And we take it on a case-by-case basis. But our general rule is we don't want students to get that double dip, to get both money and credit for a research experience.
Okay, because the scholarly project that we have to do that's like required for graduating from the honors college, is that something that is considered credit, like because it's required or no?
No. The scholarly project is because it's a requirement of the curriculum. You mean?
Yeah.
No. We mean credit bearing as in a course that provides you
Course credit.
Course credits.
Okay.
Yeah. Not curriculum requirement. Right.
So if it was like an honors contract where you're with the professor and you're getting credit, then you can't get money for it.
Probably not.
Okay.
But you should always kind of run it by us, right? And this is why I said don't be a stranger. Let us know what's happening, because if you're working on something, say you're contracting with a professor to, I don't know, give me an example. You're working on the PICS bags in agriculture. You're working on food loss and storage containers, and you're doing it as an honors contract, but there's an opportunity to participate in some other level, do a side project, turn it into a scholarly project, and you need some funding to do that, even though you're currently enrolled and getting credit for it. Obviously, we want to support you to do that, right? So again, email me, email Dr. Bross. You can go to me first if you want, and then if I'm not sure the answer, I will consult with our associate dean or others and get you an answer, okay? A lot of these are, as you can see, they become so individualized,